Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, where we've got our spicy pick. I feel like we come out here with a nice spicy pick on the channel. You can see what he just did. Look at that debuff bar and Head of Decay. Spicy pick. Every couple of weeks or so, we're trying new things with Hydra all the time here in the channel. And I'm actually really loving this one. This one is great. Who is it? It's Jizoh, the 2-week login reward champion that we get when we start playing the game. We think he's great for the first, couple of weeks or so when we have him, and then we kind of realize this champion sucks. We throw him in the vault and we never use him again. Jizoh's come back out, and not only is he good, he's actually fantastic for this rotation one of Hydra after the nerf, now that the Head of Decay is provocable. I have to give a huge shout out to a community member here, DM, left this comment on my epic only Hydra video. I had completely slept on Jizoh. I had not thought of this myself at all, but DM came into the YouTube comments. He says, it seems to me that the worth of Jizoh just got pumped up significantly. 2-turn provoke with the right affinity, and he can cast 2 buffs on champions with high resistance. Here he is. We'll look at him in game in a second. I don't even have crazy gear on him. I literally, he left the comment 6 hours ago. I had to fish out. I had a level 50 unbooked Jizoh in the vault in frost gear. So I had to go in. I had to book him out, re-gear him. I had to grind up champions to get it done. It's during CVC, so it doesn't feel too bad. But yeah, you can see that this comp is working out. It's not perfect, guys. It's not absolutely perfect. We're not always stopping with this particular comp. We're not always stopping the Head of Decay. We've got no Inquisitor Shamel. We've got no decreased speed, stuff that could potentially help us there. But we're locking him down most of the time. And I mean, just think of how good that is. When we come back here, imagine in 1 turn from now, when we come back to 1 turn on this move, Jizoh can come in and provoke him for 2 turns. We can go, you know what? Let's put a 2-turn delay on that mass cleanse. Thank you very much. I don't want that to happen. Get on out of here, which is really, really nifty. It's so good. So here, he should be coming back around to it. Here he goes. Boom. 2 turns delay. Thank you. Now, the other thing that he does, as DM rightly said right there, is he also really enables a mischief tank, right? Because Jizoh can target any party member and give them, here he goes, look at that. He gives them 2 things, a shield and a counterattack buff. I believe it's actually a 3-turn shield. Obviously, the shield's going to get broken on Hydra fairly quickly, but he gives them 2 turns of counterattack, which is very useful, right? One of the tricky things about a mischief tank is often we're running them at low speeds, or we have to have champions that give themselves lots of self buffs, and also are bringing something cool to your team, all that sort of stuff to enable them to actually function as this mischief tank. In this composition, I've got Drexthar Blood Twin as my mischief tank. Now, Drexthar doesn't give himself any buffs, so he would normally struggle, actually quite a bit. He would normally struggle quite a bit, but Jizoh comes in, and Jizoh comes and he gives him that counterattack buff. He gives him an extra little bit of a shield buff, and just ensures that, yeah, Drexthar actually can do a very consistent job of being the resistance tank. I also have Drexthar relatively slow. I'll show you all the gear. Which means that he should keep the buffs on a bit more than others. I think I actually have him with more speed than I might want. But it also lets Drexthar do more provoking too, because he can also provoke. We'll talk about that in 1 second. But it's really awesome, right? Because what does Drexthar do with his passive? Well, whenever he's attacked, he has a really good chance to burn the enemy. So that's great. He's putting out a whole bunch more HP burns. His A1 has a really good chance to place HP burn. So whenever he triggers that counterattack, he goes and he burns people. It's actually kind of nice that the Head of Mischief, when he doesn't have... we actually have Hex, because we've got Mithrala in this comp. But when he doesn't... that was a bit unlucky with how the stuff lined up. We had the Cleanse and the Head of the Poison Cloud all happening at the same time. Bit unlucky. What was I saying? I can't remember what I was saying. Something... oh yeah, Head of Mischief. He can redirect the counterattack, so it can end up that Drexthar just goes and starts counterattacking random people when Head of Mischief hits them, and he's the mischief tank. That happens every turn, basically. And he just starts applying HP burns all over the place. It's really cool. It's such a nice combo. Of course, Drexthar as well. His A2 does buck down to a 3-turn cooldown, which has a, I believe it's a 60% chance to provoke, 100% chance to provoke if they are under HP burn. Unfortunately for me, I don't have any bucks in my Drexthar. I just never booked him out. I kind of use champions like Yoshi a lot more because the Yoshi fusion was relatively close to, you know, when I was starting to actually progress Doom Tower and that sort of stuff. So it was very useful for me. But mine doesn't have Book, so he does have a 4-turn cooldown. I think it's only a 40% chance to provoke, but it's still 100% if he has the HP burn on. So like right there, Drexar can come in when the burn is on and he can land that provoke too. And just the two of them together, like I said, they lock it down most of the time. It's just such a good combo, and they're 2 free champions. Jizoh, you've got 2 weeks into the game. Drexar, it's probably going to take you maybe 4 months or so, I would guess, of farming Tag Arena. I'm not actually 100% sure how long it takes, but what a cool combo. Now, in terms of the rest of the champions we have in here, okay, we've got a couple of really good ones, for sure. We've got the Lydia, we've got the Mithrala in here, so that's a little bit cheeky. Now, I didn't bring in a Geomancer, I didn't bring in Inquisitor Shamail, some of those top-tier champions that, yeah, would make it definitely a lot easier. I definitely wanted to try to do here a composition that didn't use those champs. I was certainly finding it difficult, you know, leaving the Krisk and the Shamail on the bench and stuff like that. It was hard to get still to a 1 key of hard, which is why I brought in the Lydia and the Mithrala. Now, they are replaceable with other champions, but I don't know. I feel like it starts to get fairly difficult at that point. You definitely, the nice thing about them is they both do a lot for your team, which is pretty good. So yeah, you can see this key. If I flick through here to the end, you can see boom, boom, boom. We're blasting on through. I actually messed up at one point and I got kind of tired, wasn't paying attention. And I used Jizoh's taunt on a different head, not this guy. And he got a cleanse off near the end and it almost cost us the run, but it didn't, obviously. And you can see here we go. We're about 100 turns in. And yeah, it's going well. It's going well enough. We're getting this stuff in. Now, obviously, this team does have some flaws, this particular team. But there's the 1 key. This team has some particular flaws. We're quite vulnerable to this Head of Torment. It's a real pain because we only have semi-uptime of Perfect Veil. We've no buff extender and we only have Rector Drath. So that's a little bit of a hassle. You could bring in like a Tatura Rhymehide instead of Mithrala. Tatura Rhymehide would work really well, I think, helping, giving you block debuffs and increased defense as well, giving you more of those perfect veils. I think that would work great. There are other options. One of the big stars of the show, you can see here in the front, is Yannicka from the Clan Shop. She's also unbooked, 0 books on that Yannicka, but she is just slamming out those A1s, just doing really consistent damage. And actually, one of the things I did during this run was that when Head of Mischief was not there, I could actually, this is a really cool thing, with Jizoh, I could say, okay, I don't need the counterattack on my boy Drexar, right? In a situation like this right here, look at this, no Head of Decay, no Head of Mischief. I can say, oh, you know what? Let's just put counterattack on Yannicka. She does have a bit of an extra turn mechanic, so she can kind of burn through that counterattack pretty quickly. But whenever it does work out, it can work out really well. And she can get a bunch of those AoE A1s off and just do a whole bunch of extra damage. So Yannicka is absolutely pumping out the damage here in this comp. Again, you could replace her with other AoE A1 champions. And it is important with her that you do have increased attack. But you could bring in like a Mother Cybele, for example. Look at this. Counterattack on Yannicka. Bang. Go to town, Yannicka. Start doing all those counterattacks. So there's lots of options with this comp. Hopefully it gives you some ideas for some of the stuff, though, that you can do even without a Shamail or a Geomancer. Obviously, yes, there's legendaries in here for sure, which is not super accessible. It's not the worst, but it's not super accessible. They are all ultimately guaranteed legendaries you will get, but it just might take you a good while. Something to look forward to, at least. Anyway, let's take a look here. Here is Jizoh. You can see I've been gearing him out, ran out of silver, of course, as always. So he's not fully rolled up or anything. These are the stats I have him in. So he's got about 40,000 HP. He's level 50, so there's still more to go there. About 40,000 HP. 4,000 defense, about 220 speed, so it's good to get his speed high. I put him with some crit rate, some crit damage, and a 250 accuracy. That is plenty for hard. If you go into brutal or a nightmare, he will need more accuracy, but I think he's more of like a normal hard sort of specialist champion. So he does have pretty long cooldowns. But I don't know, yeah, if you do put him into higher difficulties, it could certainly work. I ran out of accuracy banners on Lizardman. Apparently I have like 2 accuracy banners for Krisk and for Romantu, and apparently that's it. I sold all the other ones without realizing. So yeah, I gotta farm me some spider, huh? But yeah, so he's in a HP banner. I did put him in a crit damage necklace. That's really not important. You could put him in a defensive stat. I tried him at level 50 5-star, and he was too squishy. So yeah, take that for what it's worth. You could probably make him work in some pure tank gear. But it's going to be pretty intensive for hard Hydra. To make him work at 50, it's not really worth it. Get him up to 60, you know. Defense ring with some HP and defense, that's what you want. And then I have him in just perception gear, looking for speed. Basically speed. I got him a bunch of crit rate as well, which he doesn't really need, but basically speed, defense, HP, and that's pretty much it. Enough accuracy for whatever difficulty you're doing. The crit rate's a luxury. It's not needed. He does hit reasonably hard single target, so he's good against decapitated heads, and he's good for helping you break people out, but his damage output's not going to be super high. For his masteries, I've got him down like this. So down the left-hand side here for War Master, that's important to actually do some good damage. And then through this tree, one nice thing, Solidarity, 5 more resist for each buff placed on them by this champion. He puts out the 2 buffs, right? So why not? I mean, even if he only does the 1 buff, it's a bit of extra resistance for your resistance tank. Kind of nice. And yeah, I would give him Retribution, and I don't know, maybe just Cycle of Revenge. Deterrence is great, but you really need a Shamail with that. Like in this team, he'd end up fearing himself. Probably wouldn't give him Deterrence just to be safe. I'd give him Cycle of Revenge, which isn't great for Hydra, to be honest. It only triggers when you're crit. So, but, you know, it's something. Retribution, though, would be kind of nifty. So that's how I did him with that. But yeah, you can see his skills are great. Double hitter, A1, just does some damage. It's all right. Then this one, shield buff for 3 turns, counter attack for 2 turns. You can choose the ally, which is fantastic. So you can target who gets that counter attack buff, put it on your resistance tank. If my resistance tank got eaten, I could put it on, let's say on Mithrala, who's got tons of resistance, more than anyone else. Duh, it's Mithrala. Could put it on Mithrala if I wanted. She could be a temporary resistance tank. Throw it onto Yannicka on a damage dealer when we don't need a resistance tank. Really, really actually flexible for Hydra. Really good. Long cooldown, but he does get the extra turn. And then this one, Ryle. 100% chance Provoke for 2 turns. He's the right affinity. Gives him a continuous heal as well, so he's easy enough to keep alive. Yeah, and this hits reasonably hard too. So he's a winner. Jizoh, there you go. He looks super cool, man. Like, he looks great. He's a badass looking champion. It's a pity that he's been completely useless, almost completely useless, almost, up until now. But he's just come back in. He's like, yo, this Hydra rotation, this is my rotation. By the way, he does bring an attack in all battles aura. If you wanted to be super safe, you could easily run him in the lead with Inquisitor Shamail boosting him. You're going to miss out on a lot of damage, but you'd absolutely have complete control of the Provokes. And you wouldn't have any affinity issues. He'd be very safe. And he'd probably get out a good chunk of counterattacks on your team as well, which could be kind of nifty. Could be kind of cool. So it's something to consider in the useful aura. So not terrible in that spot either. But guys, let me know what you think. That was, like I said, that was Jizoh. So unfortunately, I didn't, obviously didn't complete this run. It's too early in the week. I want to do more testing. But we did get that 1 key on hard. Yeah, I suspect most of the damage in this composition really is Yannicka's going to be doing a ton. And then Drexstar with the HP burns. But they do it. They make it work. And we went through a variety of different heads. We went through all the heads, actually, I think, with this comp. So it was tricky enough. Like, it's getting close to not working, but it did just about work. Oh, I should show you the gear really fast for the other people so you can see that, because I typically forget this half the time. So Mithrala, she is in perception, and she is built like so. Fast, lots of accuracy, tanky. It's Mithrala, and she is built in these masteries. We have Lydia. Lydia's in these masteries, and she is... Actually, maybe I could give her this instead, rapid response. Now, I kind of like the extra accuracy. Doesn't matter. And she's built in perception. Shocker. She's fast. Well, fairly accurate. Lots of resistance on her to sort of supplement in Hydra, because she does sometimes in some comps get targeted by mischief. Yeah, good for arena as well. So she's in that resistance sort of build. We had in this team, where is Yannicka? Yannicka, that's not Yannicka. This is Yannicka. Yannicka is in an offense and an immortal set. She's in random ass gear, guys, but she's got high attack with these sets, good solid speed, and good crit damage. Her accuracy is a bit low. Actually nice to give her some accuracy. It's nice to get her some accuracy because she does place that leech on her A1, which is pretty cool. And like I said, she is unbooked. This move, Baffling Speed, absolutely smacks. So if you hit a decapitated head with this, it absolutely claps. Her A3, it's missing 30% damage from books. So she'd do a lot more damage if she was booked out. And I did respec her into War Master just to maximize her damage against the Hydra. It does add on, I think, a good chunk. They were the champs in here, right? Weren't they? Oh, Drexstar. So Drexthar, I'm still in the process of rolling up. I've run out of silver for him as well. He's basically going like this: extended debuffs, better chance to burn, Giant Slayer, fairly standard stuff, I would say. So he still has a bunch of stuff at 12. But he is basically at 437 resistance, which worked fine for hard. Now, preferably this would be a little bit higher, but he's getting most of the value there. He's getting most of the value, like 410 up to 460 is sort of the range. So he's in sort of the medium part of that range. He could be a little bit higher though. He is slow. That's important enough. Try to keep him slow so he keeps the buffs on. And then he just has some accuracy, some resistance. One nice thing, his passive does help here, right? His passive gives him more resistance for every enemy under HP burn. So that helps you a ton. And we're running with Rector Drath, who gives you resistance when you're under Veil as well. So that can be very useful too. And obviously when he's booked, he gets a heck of a lot better. So there you go. That is him. Then we had, we already saw Jizoh. So Rector Drath, she is coming in and she is fast, good resistance too. Just fast and survivable, basically. She's in pretty good gear in random sets, very random sets, but good stats on them. And she is going into the bonus resistance and more duration potentially on her veils and her heals. And that is Rector Drath. That is the team, right? Yeah, that's everyone. Yeah, it is. Guys, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed Jizoh. Who would have thought? There we go. Thanks. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.